We need an environment in the production facility of testing. This is something I've almost never seen. With the business world, it's always been ready, fire, aim. Here's an idea, we're going to go out with it and see what happens, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But in the manufacturing environment, we need a testing laboratory going at all times. Can we try something? No, we can't stop the machine for a minute. Well, you have to, because you're going to stop it anyway with all the defects and rework and everything. So let's do some heavy testing. That's something that I really emphasize with the clients. And who are those people that should be sitting at that table, the test table? Frontline workers, for sure. Middle managers, for sure. Vendors. Vendors are treated like, buy them by procurement, get the lowest price. So that lowest price has ended up costing us how much in production? Does anybody know that? If we paid more for the raw materials to get a better product, we had a vendor that was truly a partner at the table with us, or the machine manufacturer sitting at the table with us, and so who's on that team, who's on that bus? And that's something I think can make a tremendous difference.
Mark, what does, you talked a lot about testing, which I'm in alignment. I think it's so important in a manufacturing plant to not only be testing for new products, but testing for ways to produce what you have more efficiently and more effectively. Mm-hmm. What does a good testing process look like to you?
Well, you start with the bottleneck. What's the bottleneck that you think might be the game changer? What will make a difference? You could test almost anything manually or without much expense. Whatever those problems are, we create scenarios. We create a scenario on what would happen if we could do this. So I had one client where I felt they were silkscreen shirt printer, and they would print the front, they'd print the back, they'd print the collar, print both sleeves. And I was convinced that both sleeves should be printed at the same time, not on two different machines separately. That would be like a 25% increase in production. Can we test this? Can we know? And I gave them 3 different proposals on how to do this. We did some testing. It could be done. And it just takes kind of a relentless commitment. I've seen top managers discard something that could make a double-digit difference because of some emergency or we don't have the money for that and all that. There's a corporate mindset that has an adverse reaction to trying something new, and that comes back down to fear. And the fear based on we've got to cut costs, we got to make these numbers. That's the biggest bottleneck to the testing, I think.
And who typically do you recommend should be overseeing the whole testing program? Like, who's that decision maker that should be owning and managing that process?
I would say the top person at that particular division, location, or maybe somebody higher. These things I'm talking about require a commitment from the top, including these operating procedures I'm talking about. There has to be a commitment from the top that we're going to do this and we're going to empower the team to do it. Because if you leave it to mid-managers and they're putting out fires, and I can tell you, we're talking a big Fortune 500 company, and I had a hardest time getting information out of the managers because they're running around with their lab coats and back and forth, because there's putting out a fire all the time. So without that top commitment, it's not going to work. One of the places, I'm not sure they even used the procedures I created. They had to be done, and they moved on to something else. And it did not get to the floor.